All right.
Cool.
Scott Johnson, nice to meet you, buddy.
Nice to meet you.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm here at SPAH in Dallas, Texas, Society for the Preservation and Advancement of the Harmonica. And last night I was at a table, lucky enough to be sitting around with a guy, around a table with some of the best jazz players around. And I saw this guy playing, and he really was, I never seen anything quite like it, and I loved his tone and his style. I love the way you just slide all over that harmonica, and you're switching harmonicas almost like some sort
like
of
an insane person?
Like an insane, exactly.
Well, you know, that's, it can seem that way. Yeah, I came at the harmonica a little differently, I guess, from a lot of people. Of course, there's all kinds of diverse perspectives on it here, especially at this convention. But I didn't initially look at it as, you know, a blues instrument. I grew up in Mississippi. That's where I'm mostly from, and I played in bands. I was a bass player and a singer and a little bit of guitar. And I loved the blues, but it was just part of the mix of things that I loved. I loved, you know, the blues influenced bands like Zeppelin, Led Zeppelin, and, you know, The Who and people like that. You know, I loved the Police. I was a child of the 80s, so I loved Peter Gabriel and all that. And then, you know, I stopped doing music for a while. When I got back into it and I started playing harmonica, I, at least at first, was coming at it more from a melodic standpoint. And I didn't know anything at all about positions, cross harp, straight harp, any of that. I knew about bending a note. I kind of knew how to do that already from having goofed around on it for a long time, but you know, I could play a major scale. So the first few months that I was playing, I was just playing straight harmonica. The song was in a certain key. I'd grab that key and I'd start playing. And I still do a song by Jonathan Edwards, Shanty, you know that song? For the first several months I was playing it in straight harp. I thought I was doing great. And you know, it probably wasn't too bad for a guy that was just starting out, maybe. But it, you know, eventually I figured out that was not the way he plays it, and that, you know, there was another way to do it. And then I started learning that what cross harp was versus straight harp, and that cross harp was what you generally, you know, maybe 70 to 80% of the time here in blues, I guess. You know, I don't know what the actual percentage is, but that's, you know, that sort of blues drawing and bending style. I started to become familiar with these things. And then I started discovering people like Paul Butterfield and Little Walter and, you know, all the legends. So then I'm getting this hybrid of this very melodic, you know, I mean, we were doing Beatles songs and stuff like that. And so a melodic approach, but then also learning more about this other deep way of playing. And then we started, and I was playing with a friend of mine, and you know, who played guitar. We started throwing some minor key songs in the mix. And again, not knowing what I was doing, I would try to find the harmonica that sounded the best with what my friend was playing. Eventually, I learned that was like fourth position or third position.
We're talking about positions. A lot of the people that are watching this blog really don't know what we're talking about when we talk about positions. So just to clarify, we started off that jam. We were both using harmonicas with a D on it, and I was playing in cross harp or blues harp, which meant I was focusing on the draw. You know, I start off,
and you were using both a low D and a regular D.
Yeah, right? I never actually switched to the regular D, but this is a low D harmonica, and I was playing cross harp, and our friend Scott here was switching harps, which means he was switching positions on the harp. Right. And just summarize for us what all that means and where it took you.
Right. So, and mostly, you know, for the more rhythmic stuff, I also was using a D harp, although I was using a regular one in the next register up.
Right.
And I was also playing some melodies. I'm an overblow and overdraw player. Have been pretty extensively for the last maybe 3 years, I guess, or so, 3 or 4. And so that's part of what I'm doing. I'm still playing melodies, but I can always kind of switch back into that chording, you know. But then I would switch to straight harp using an A harmonica, which, you know, it's not necessarily that's going to let you play melodies. If you're an overblow player, it's not necessarily going to be more melodic per se than playing cross harp, but the melody's kind of there more easily, and it's going to give you a different flavor because you've got different sweet notes where you can bend them.
Right.
The blow bends up high. They're going to be different notes than the blow bends up high when you're playing cross harp. And frankly, much of the time, especially what we were just doing, I don't really have a plan like, okay, at such and such a moment, I'm going to switch to straight harp.
Yeah, right.
It's more like when I start feeling ready to do something different. And that's kind of the way I approach a lot of playing. I mean, now with my gigs and my band, I'm a little more organized than that. But, you know, all the positions, and not just the two we're talking about, but third position, fourth position, fifth, 12th, 6th, they all have different flavors. They give you different scales, basically. It's like a guitar player who can play all the different scales when he's doing his shredding solos.
Right.
Well, in order to do that on a harmonica, you kind of need different harmonicas.
So if we all have C harmonicas, what position might you spend some time with us on?
Okay. So I can just walk them through directly. And I'm sure a lot of your viewers know this, but it's always good to kind of have it, you know, different perspective on it. First position, a straight harp, C harp, use it for a C song. You know, a lot of your Neil Young, Bob Dylan stuff, or campfire music, you're going to have that. Now, there's also a lot of blues players who played in first position, whether it's Jimmy Reed playing up high. Or Little Walter doing the little, or was that Little Walter? I believe it was, on Hoochie Coochie Man doing. And then if you overblow, you can play in the middle register, you can play a whole chromatic scale, and it can work up very well on a blues. Sneak in a little major seventh above the flat seventh. So that's first position. Cross harp, what we're more used to hearing in a typical blues song, use a C harp to play a G song. So, you know. Okay, we all know that. C harp on a D song, that would be third position. One whole step below the key of the song.
Yep.
So C harp for a D song. Right? Fourth position. And this is all based on the circle of fifths, which is probably a little more detailed than you want to go into on this. But an A minor song, use a C harp for that. I believe it's the Aeolian mode, which and I know just a smattering of that stuff. And one thing that's very helpful for me, or at least it was when I was starting out, and I still use this, for every position, or especially the more esoteric ones, I usually think of a song that really works well in that position. So for me, Ain't No Sunshine by Bill Withers is a very good fourth position song because it's. It just happens to lay out, especially in that high register.
You know,
very well.
let's stop and work on that song for a second because I
sure.
think that's a nice one.
Sure. So we're doing an A minor.
And this is a pretty different position. It's called fourth position.
Fourth position.
Fourth position.
Yeah. And again, when I'm playing this song, and I do this song fairly often, usually do it in A minor. So I might play part of the song in fourth position. Usually lay the melody out if I'm trying to really capture the melody in a solo. I'll probably do that in fourth, mostly. But you can also play it in third. But I probably wouldn't use that for the melody. I'd be soloing around it, you know. Or if I'm just trying to lay down some root chords, or octaves behind the band, that would be in third. I might break out an F harp and play some in fifth, like this. This is some squeaky overblows in there because I need to get it worked on a little bit. But you don't have to do overblows to play any of this stuff. You know, you just don't worry about those notes. Any of these three harmonicas would work well to me, at least the way I like to play it in that song. And I find, and I sort of always like to say with all this stuff that you don't have to do any of this. I mean, none of it. There are many great players. Most players don't switch harps anywhere near the way I do. It's a quirk.
Right, yeah.
Certainly not necessary. For me, it's just another flavor. And it's the same thing with many techniques. Same thing with overblows and overdraws. There's dozens of incredible players downstairs right now who don't do them at all. So it's to me it's just another tool, and it helps me sound like myself, I guess is the best.
So
way
would
to
you
put it.
teach us one line at a time that little song you were just playing,
Sure.
Ain't No Sunshine?
Sure.
You play and then I play, so we and let me know where we're going to start.
So you start on the 5 blow,
All right.
go to the 6 blow, and then out of 6 draw. Now the 7 blow, 7 draw, 6 blow, 6 draw. Yeah, I mean, that's the idea.
Yeah.
Right.
And what position we're playing in fourth position?
We're playing in
there?
4th position.
So we have C harmonicas and we're playing in the key of
A minor.
A minor. All right.
It's just another way to skin a cat.
Yeah, it's nice.
And 5th position, a lot we don't have to go through all of them, but like 5th position, the song Scarborough Fair is a really nice song for 5th. 12th position, which Howard Levy calls first flat, and that's one of his and one of my favorites.
Really?
Amazing Grace happens to lay out perfectly in that. And I was And I was doing some bends to be expressive on that, but you can play the melody without a single bend. But there's a lot to be said for not always doing this harp switching. I mean, to stay with one harmonica, and let that be what shapes your. I mean, that's what most people do anyway. And I sometimes just make the decision. You know what? I'm not going to try doing that this time, and that brings out something different. Most of the time I do like to switch it around a little bit.
Well, why don't you finish us off with a big switching number where you're playing lots of different harps.
Okay.
Just play a solo.
Okay, I'll do one with just 2 harps.
All right.
But let's see.
So everyone, we have Scott Albert Johnson here from Jackson, Mississippi. One of the great harmonica players here at the convention.
Thank you very much.
And I appreciate
Thanks for
you
having me.
coming
This
up.
is cool. This is
it's
cool.
been fun.
All right, so.
Tell us what you're going to play.
Well, I'm a big New Orleans Saints fan, being in Jackson, Mississippi, so maybe a little bit of this.
Face that way, Susan. Very cool. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
All right.
My pleasure.
Very nice.
Cool.